if the sound is working. We hope it will. I'm going to analyze a scene from Rear Window by Alfred Hitchcock, the 1954 absolute classic. This is late in the movie, so maybe you need to watch this movie first. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm definitely going to spoil it. Probably all of it. So just so you know, complete spoilers here. Also, I'm probably going to get demonetized, so if you want to help the channel out, become a member, subscribe to my Substack, go donate there, or just subscribe, whatever. It's all good. I just watched this clip 20 times. 5-minute clip 20 times because I gave an exam on it. It was a hard exam, I thought. A lot to say in this clip. They had 50 minutes and they watched it 10 times. So I have looked at this pretty carefully. I even found something amazing in this that I had never seen before. So we will go over it. And again, hopefully the sound works for the clip. Hopefully I got my OBS set up here, but you never know. So here we go. This is Jimmy Stewart on screen. I'm up here in the corner, of course. Jimmy Stewart on screen. Great American hero, great American actor. But in this movie, he is lame. He is impotent. He cannot go anywhere. He's an adventurer as a photographer who goes and takes action photos on racetracks and in war zones, but he is stuck at home. And he is, like the camera is in this movie, he can't move. He stays in his apartment and watches other people. Thus, this movie is a surveillance movie. It's about a voyeur, a quote-unquote peeping Tom, although he doesn't really see naked women, no, but he looks and oogles at women, even though he's got maybe the most beautiful girlfriend in the world, or one of them, one of the most beautiful women in movies. Grace Kelly is his dedicated girlfriend in this movie, and she might want to get married, and yet he doesn't want to get married. We will see her in this clip in a little bit, and there is a divide between them. He's an adventurer, she's a fashionista who's in the city, and he claims that she couldn't stand the adventures he goes on. She cannot be with him in war zones. They have this conversation early in the movie. He's a great jerk to her. And so, well, at this moment in the movie, she's going to go be that adventurer, going and risking her life really on his behalf because he suspects his neighbor across the way, Lars Thorwald, of murdering his wife. And very much everything we'll see in this clip is in part projection in terms of this character. What he wants out of life, what he wants to see, what he desires is going to be mirrored in some way across the way in little frames, which are windows, but they're analogous to screens, like the movie screen or movie frame. Also, nowadays, TV screens and internet browsers and whatnot, you kind of see what you want and you see what you get. There's a deep criticism of this character in every way in this clip. Okay, so here he is, and he's going to get his camera. Hopefully the sound works. There we go. He's going to get his camera out, and he's going to spy across the way, so we get a pan across with the little camera lens view here as they look for what's in the flower bed across the way. That's his nurse Stella, and they're going to try to find out if Lars Thorwald buried something there, aka his wife's body. And this is a common shot. He's like a director. He's like a movie director who gets behind the camera and looks through things. He's also a voyeur, as we said. So there is some criticism of his art of movie making, as it were, as he's holding this camera here and shooting what he thinks he wants, aka what an audience wants. Also, as we said, he's seeing what he wants, and that's not love, that's murder. In this movie, he's got several window frames across the way, and he's seeing lonely people and newly married people. There's a love theme playing later in this clip, and he sees what he wants to see, which is a man killing his wife. Analogous to what he's doing to his girlfriend. He, not physically, not literally, but metaphorically, pushing her away, keeping her at arm's length, calling her a jerk, or telling her to shut up. To me, he's acting like a jerk throughout this movie. So he's getting what he wants here by putting his girlfriend, his very beautiful girlfriend, over there in the apartment, and she basically becomes a doppelganger to Lars Thorwald, his wife, who actually is killed in this movie, although we never see that. So here this movie is very much a comment on what viewers want to see out of a movie, what they want to see out of, let's say, in stuff on the internet. They want to see something sensational, something thrilling, something that involves two people going at it. I mean, why else do we watch reality TV? I want to see two people fight. I want to see two idiots fight on reality TV. Maybe fist fight, maybe yelling. And this is probably what he wants out of seeing his neighbors across the way. He wants to see them in dispute and to be a hidden observer, a la voyeur or peeping Tom. It's a one-way mirror here. He wants to see but not be seen. And that's basically what we all are as we stare at movie screens or screens, period. I'm assuming this sound is working. Let's go ahead. So you're going to hear, by the way, you're going to hear a musician, a composer, with musicians in his apartment composing the love theme to this movie as we go along. And at first, the first part of this clip will just have cacophony, several musicians warming up. And it'll be disjointed and disorganized musical sounds that you'll hear, that he can hear too, the Jeffries character, played by Jimmy Stewart. In the middle of this clip, you'll start to hear them actually play, for the first time, the love theme that the composer is composing, and that is kind of calling to the female characters here, and maybe as a criticism of Jeffries, who wants war and murder and not love out of what he sees across the way. So as we watch this, we'll see him watch, and this movie is very much about a watcher, us the viewers watching a guy, him, and he's getting upset here. So this is his girlfriend, Lisa, played by Grace Kelly, and she is climbing the ladder, something he cannot do. She is mobile, she is active, she is powerful in this movie. There's an interesting power dynamics where the male character gets the females interested in the murder case, and then they go do this stuff on his behalf. They go investigate here. His nurse down at the bottom, who's not in the frame anymore, Stella, and then Grace Kelly going up. And this is the apartment of Lars Thorwald, who they suspect has killed his wife. They have flimsy evidence, but he actually, spoiler alert, he's done it. It's a very tricky movie that way. They have terrible evidence, but they're right anyway. Now, look at this frame here. This has 3 different windows. So I liken these to screens or frames. This is at the point in time, 1953-54, where TV is not quite there, but is possible. So this is, in a way, a criticism of what will come, people watching TV, which we're all used to by now. But at this point, it's frames, and 2 things come to mind: newspapers and even comic strips. And this is kind of a comic strip with this frame, the frame on the left, which is smaller, the one in the middle, which is small, and then the big one. And then there'll be a 4th one, which is the bedroom, which we can't see just yet. And this is 3 of those are Thorwald's apartment and in the hallway. So then there's comic strips, and then there's movies. And then we see these frames acting like movie frames. And what we see in them is what we think is true, but we have a limited point of view. We can't see everything in the frame, aka also the windows. So that's part of Hitchcock's criticisms, as like, what do you want as a viewer? Well, you're seeing your neighbors in windows. That's like watching a movie theater, or a movie in a movie theater. So Lisa's going to go into the movie. If you keep my analogy, the girlfriend is finally going to go into the screen across the way, and he will see her as the object that he's treated her as. He's also, Jeffries, the Jimmy Stewart character, seeing his neighbors as objects. So down below, with the blinds, I'm looking at the very bottom of the frame here, there's a character he calls Miss Lonely Hearts. And he names her according to a stereotype, which she seems to be a forlorn lover. She doesn't have a boyfriend or a husband, and she wants one. She wants a companion. So Miss Lonely Hearts is an object to watch and to be interested in via the stereotype that she is, and what Jeffries gets out of it, which is entertainment. We don't see her, but Miss Torso is in this movie, a young, beautiful blonde who is dancing in front of the window frame, and she takes her top off. Although it's 1954, we don't see it, but we see the back of her top come off, and she too is an object to oogle and to be interested in. Well, all this is coming true for the girlfriend of Jeffries now, as she becomes an object to be watched in the frame right here. So she's going to climb in and risk her life. Or her legs, which will happen later in the movie. Jeffries will fall out of the frame and break his leg. At the very end of the movie, it's a threat right here as she nearly falls. I mean, she doesn't really slip, but nearly. And Jeffries going to keep reacting to her. So there'll be several long shots and then reactions. Long shots, reactions. As we see his viewing experience. he is a movie watcher. He is a comic strip reader, as it were. And there we get the pan over to the bedroom, and then he's going to bring his telephoto lens up, and a nice, great reflection here in the lens as we see him looking across the way. And you'll note it's opposite to the window. So what I mean is he's looking to the left in this frame, whereas the window is on the right side. So anyway, there you go. Oh, I'm getting detected here. This is terrible. Hopefully YouTube doesn't shut me down. They might shut me down in a minute, which would be awful, but it's happened to me before. Here we see then his point of view, which is going to be a fourth wall break. A fourth wall break involving Lisa, who becomes, again, that object across the way, and she's highlighted as such. Looking in the purse, she's looking for the jewelry. And now we are Jeffries. So every time there's a fourth wall break, we become Jeffries. And, we're being criticized like him. Everybody in this movie is an object to look at, stare at, and oogle, or see as a piece of entertainment rather than something more nuanced and complex, which is probably some of the criticism here, I think. Anyway, notice he's looking left, but the apartment's on the right. That's what I was saying. Now he's looking this way, that way. There's the bedroom. Now, early in the movie, we saw Lars Thorwald's wife. She was in the bedroom. This is a weird commentary now. I'll probably definitely get banned. There's a lot of talk obliquely about sex in this movie. And will Jeffries and Lisa have sex? Because, well, this is 1954. She's got a girlfriend. It's against the landlord's policy for him to do that in his own apartment. He shouldn't have her sleep over. She does earlier in the movie. But he's impotent or lame. The first line in the movie is, "Men, are you feeling powerless at age 40 or 40 plus?" And there's a hint that he can't get it up, as it were. Yep. And so the bedroom becomes a place where you murder or you have sex, but you can't have sex because if you're Jeffries, because he's got a cast on his leg and it's all the way up his leg and it's preventing him from doing the deed. So the murder is the opposite of that, which takes place in this bedroom. And this is exactly where Thorwald will find Lisa, in the bedroom. Now, this is a classic Hitchcock, sex or murder. Well, both of them are very titillating to an audience. Oh, my warning went away. If I pause this well enough, I'll take it away. All right, so here you go. Stella comes in the room. It rushes, and we get the thing about this movie is you get a lot of action, even though the shots are static and the character can't move. Almost all this movie is in the apartment of Jeffries. So here there was some action there. She runs up, and this is a hint as to his powerlessness. There's a lot of shots like this, in which the female is standing there in the middle, kind of the center left portion. He's down there at the right, not bottom right, and he looks weak. Just the vertical difference between the two, high versus low, that tends to be a thing in film grammar where the higher person has more authority or more power in the frame. Not always true, but probably 70% of the time it is, especially in an older movie like this where this is pretty typical film grammar. So higher up, and this is an inversion because he is making these women get interested in his, let's say, adventure. And they weren't until about halfway through the movie. Stella criticized him, the nurse here, as a peeping Tom. Now she's involved, or now she's interested, and highly interested. In fact, a little sensational with the talk about cutting up the body. Anyway, this is a criticism of the character too. He is a lame old man who should know better. By the way, when he has Grace Kelly as a female love interest, he should pay more attention to her in his apartment, rather than what's across the way in the other apartments. Look inside your apartment for a change is a line in this movie. Self-criticism, which he's not able to do, or even paying attention to his relationships. So there he goes. He's going to call because of Lisa, but then they look at Miss Lonely Hearts there. Now we get a glimpse of her in this clip, and she is going to commit suicide. And why? Because she is sad and alone and lacks a companion. That is possible here for Jeffries, who might get Lisa because he desires to see it, murdered. Or does he desire murder? Well, he desires the murder to be solved across the way. He could become a Miss Lonely Hearts. One, through being a jerk and driving Lisa away. But two, being interested in the murder case and getting her harmed. So the threat to Jeffries is he'll become one of these characters across the way, but he never thinks about that. Other characters who are lonely, Miss Torso, who we don't see in this clip, and the composer, who can't complete the love theme, but is trying to do it and now will do it at the very moment they call the police on Thorwald, okay, and then Lisa in the apartment, and on Miss Lonely Hearts committing suicide. So this is the perfect convergence of love, sex, suicide, and murder all at once right here, and the music will solidify that and act as a summons to these two women who are compared right now. And by the way, Miss Lonely Hearts, the blinds are over her apartment, showing us we can't really see her as she is. We only see parts of her selectively. And that's a metaphor for seeing things through a frame, like a movie frame, movie screen, TV screen, and whatnot. So Miss Lonely Hearts, stereotyped, we only see glimpses of her. We can't know her entirely. And so that's a criticism on the part of the viewer, Jeffries, and of viewers themselves who are watching Hitchcock movies, by the way. So here we go. Miss Lonely Hearts. And the love theme will start eventually. Actually, my sound's off, so I can't hear it. But I'll keep cutting back and forth here. Reaction shots as they try to intervene across the way. And they do successfully through calling the police. There's the quick glimpse. This is our only glimpse of the composer's apartment in this clip. And his musicians, this is what we're actually hearing, what Jeffries is hearing, and now what Miss Lonely Hearts and Lisa will hear. And it's like a summons. She stops the suicide attempt thanks to the love theme. Okay, so music and art stop or have an effect. They stop someone from actually doing terrible harm to themselves. At the same time, the music pauses Lisa from getting the heck out of there and is a distraction. So this is a fascinating moment. This is one of the best moments in movie history, in my opinion, because there's like 5 books to be written about this right now. Lisa is distracted by the artwork, the love theme playing. Miss Lonely Hearts is saved by it. And you can compare and contrast, and this shot is telling you that they are similar, but the contrast is there too. So what's art good for? Distraction, to entertain, to titillate. Nothing wrong with that entirely, but all by itself without more, it's probably going to cause some problems or be limited. Whereas art that invigorates, to pun on the impotency thing, art that helps people out and changes them for the positive. Miss Lonely Hearts here, influenced by the music, is. And what's Hitchcock going for? Well, partly it's the artwork's fault, by the way. If it's trying to be too entertaining or too titillating, and that's all it wants to do, then it is an object to oogle, as Miss Torso could be. But on the other hand, artwork that ennobles, well, that could be part of the artwork. And by the way, it's partly the viewer's fault. If the viewer is misseeing things or wanting out of the artwork something simple, something titillating, that's their problem. And so Jeffries does not see most of what I'm talking about here. He's not able to notice Lisa is like Miss Lonely Hearts in the fact that he's driving her away, being a jerk to her, not marrying her, and so on and so forth. She's lonely and wants him in a relationship with her, more deeply connected than they are otherwise. And he is causing this problem. But then again, he doesn't realize that, now he's going to start to realize he's caused the problem of putting her over there and getting her in trouble. He's going to have to he's going to get worried and have to face the facts that he has put her over there and will now nearly get her killed. Wonderful shot, wonderful moment, in 2 frames at once. This is a split screen effect, by the way. 1954's, they could do split screens back then, but this is a way of doing it without doing it. And here on the left comes Thorwald So that's why I'm saying Lisa is distracted by the love theme. She could have gotten out of there, but she cannot. She's trying to get the jewelry of the wife and find solid evidence that Thorwald has killed his wife. And now they get scared and react. And we're going to keep cutting back and forth. This is just amazing. Now, we should put some of these shots back to back to back so you can see them. But first we were at a normal distance from them. And now look where we're at. Angled, low angle looking up. And this is heightening the tension for them. They are scared and they are impotent as voyeurs/viewers. They can do nothing about this. And so now the tension is ratcheted up as Thorwald goes into the apartment and might find Lisa. And it's their fault, and they're deadly scared about it. There's going to be 3 or 4 different reaction shots of different distances and angles here with them. I'm going to point out the next one, too. And Hitchcock is just a master of this, knowing when to change the position of the camera to let you know that the feelings and scenario has changed for the characters themselves. We'll cut back and forth to that several times. Here we go. I love this. This is a great shot. Lisa's point of view as she runs across several frames here and is going to go where? Into the bedroom where Lars Thorwald's wife was. The only time and place we've ever seen her is in the bedroom. She's going to try to hide. Oh, this is so good. So she runs back into the blank space, and we don't know where she is exactly, and tries to hide there in the blank. But look where Thorwald, I love this. Thorwald's reflection is right in that blank. He's going to fill that blank, and he has a lot of power. We know he's a murderer later in the movie. We don't know that quite yet if you haven't seen it, but he's going to go get her in the blank space, the space where there's nothing. This is a classic thing of suggesting something off screen without showing it, and he could murder her off screen, as was the case with his wife, without us seeing it. Oh, I love that reflection. It's just so great. There we go. Reaction shot. And he's going to be an active person now, calling on calling the police, obviously, to get them to stop Thorwald. There, Thorwald goes into the blank, and then finds Lisa with that shadow to the right. Oh no, not quite yet. He's looking for her though. And he turns around there, he sees her, and then here again is a different orientation perspective of Jeffries. And notice throughout this entire thing we've moved closer and closer and closer to him, and finally we're up in his face. Normal angle, maybe a little tilt, maybe a little bit of angle there, a lot of shadows. It's dark, it's creepy, and this is how he feels. Once again, probably 100 times in this movie, we pause briefly to watch a watcher, watch a viewer, and to meditate on what it means to be a neighbor who looks across the way and sees stuff happen, what it means to be a person entertained, what level of entertainment does he want and what does he like, and how does he treat other people versus how does he watch them, and then what does it mean to be a voyeur, like seeing people without being seen. And here we watch that guy do the watching, and he's scared now beyond scared. So you'll get right up in his face at this point. This is the moment probably of most tension for him. As Thorwald here gets to look in the mirror, look at that mirror image of him. It's so flat, and there's a hint that there's a panel or screen there to be seen, but we can't quite see it. It's wonderful. We know Lisa's in that blank space too. So she's off screen, both in a literal and metaphorical sense, and he pushes her back over out into this space. We're biggest window space of all. And I must comment on this because I found this today. I had never seen this in my life. Do you see it? It's staring at you. There's something awesome sitting here. I watched this movie 15 times, and then as I said, I watched this clip 20 times. And in the middle of all that, I saw a face. And it's in that lamp down there, right to the left, bottom left of Lisa. And that face, I can't zoom in for you here, but if I could, you would see Alfred Hitchcock. Not himself, but the face of Alfred is in that lamp. And I had never seen that before. But it's wonderful as a little joke. The director's appearing here as a work of art, in his own work of art, in that lamp, which is facing outward and shouldn't be. That's for, I guess, maybe it should be because it'd be too creepy if it were facing Thorwald. But the joke is that Alfred Hitchcock is watching back. So he sees Jeffries watching back. And that's amazing because Jeffries thinks he can't be seen. And late in this clip, we'll turn the lights off so that he can't be seen or caught watching. But there's Alfred Hitchcock watching. It's so wonderful. I had no idea that was sitting there. It's amazing. I assume someone's caught that before. This movie certainly is. That's been noticed. But here's Thorwald treating a woman harshly, which he's done before with the wife. But there's a comment here, and there's a bunch of doppelgangers in this movie, that Jeffries is like Thorwald. I kind of said that before, but he wants to see Lisa, maybe unconsciously. Maybe this is a psychological movie where he wants to see unconsciously Lisa get hurt. You could read that into the movie. He is a powerful male, seeing women, treating women as objects, as a viewer. So he is like Thorwald in that sense. Is a dominant male lording it over females. And maybe that's what directors do when they shoot females. And in Alfred Hitchcock's biography, go pick up any recent biography of him, that was the case with Hitchcock. He supposedly treated women, allegedly, terribly, all over the place. And so is this some kind of biographical commentary? People have read that into all of his movies, or many of his movies at least. But it's also a commentary on what people want to see. People want to see violence, harm done to other people, and it's entertaining, or is it artwork? Right. So that's the dynamic going on in the movie. It's wonderful the whole time. Yeah. Thanks for commenting here, but it's great. Yeah. Yeah, the Alfred Hitchcock thing. They're still staring at us. Lisa's lower. She's trying to get out of there. Now she's going to be manhandled. The lights are going to go off. And we get the screen turn off briefly. It's like a fade to black. There's his most scared moment for Jeffries right there. And there's the fade to black. Not quite, but very close. In the darkness will come. This will all happen to Jeffries later in the movie. So the movie character he watches across the way, the murderer who murders his wife, comes to him. And my analogy in class was like, if you're watching a horror movie and all of a sudden the horror movie villain showed up in your room as you're watching the movie, that's essentially what's going on here. Although it's more realistic in the scenario, which is a neighborly apartment complex kind of thing. But that's the fun that Alfred Hitchcock has here. If the character came into your world and messed with you or hurt and tried to harm you, you get what you want. You wanted to see people harmed, now you get it. Now, you could even say that's happening here. He wanted to see action and adventure, and he wanted to see Lisa participating in it. Now he's getting it. And he gets what he wants, which is his woman to be more active as he is, and this is what it is. Which, there's some criticism there, I think. Of criticism of what he wants out of her. And he gets to watch the harm, and he gets to suffer. And finally, this is probably the first time in the movie where he really has a genuine reaction that is not as a viewer, a safe viewer, but as someone who sees real consequences come from what he's watching. The classic question, do movies actually influence real life, and do they cause consequences to happen? No. Postmodernly, no. They're just for fun. I don't think that's always the case, and Hitchcock doesn't either, in my opinion. So the viewer gets to now see real-world consequences of what he wanted out of the artwork. Here comes the police, though, on the left. And now look at that shot. There's relief. We get back off of him, and we're a little bit higher up, and now it's almost like a pietà. Now that I look at this, my goodness, I hadn't thought of it that way, but a matronly, motherly figure over a sort of broken guy, which maybe is what Stella is the whole time, so I'm making up this interpretation on the fly. But that sure looks like one to me in a weird way. But the relief of this moment where, the police are showing up, which finally they do here to give justice and relief to Lisa across the way. And there they are on the left, entering into the world, the movie world on the right. As I said, it's like a comic strip, though. I mean, that's the great thing about this movie. It's like, somehow it's about newspapers and radio, even though they don't show up really much in the movie. That you know that on the left side, the police are going to go to the right into that panel. It's a comic strip. And Thorwald's got to stop. There's a great shot of Thorwald coming up, too. And he's going to have to exit that panel and go back to the left, and they're relieved. We're going to a couple reaction shots of them that way. And look at him. He's trapped between the woman on the right and the police on the left in that little more narrow space. And here's the telephoto lens looking at Thorwald. I don't have a good read on why the color schemes are the way they are. There's blue here. I haven't thought about it in the movie, but I'm just going to point out that this is something you could look at in the movie if you wanted to. Lisa's wearing what she's wearing, etc. So, but he's trapped. This is a nice little shot of constraint in between those two very narrow, I don't know what to call them. It's just a window panel, obviously, but that's a moment of being trapped and trapped by the camera because he's the lens is showing up here, the outline of the lens itself. So the director's framing Thorwald, which could be a pun if he were innocent, but he's not. So anyway, and he's looking back to the left where the police are. And now back to, okay. So, and I'm tempted, I missed that one, but I'm tempted to say that shot was even a different orientation towards the viewer, a little higher up and because he's going to be weaker in this moment, Jeffries. He's not going to be able to do one thing at this moment. The police are already there. That's the best thing he could do. And now he's going to be weaker. And notice, here we get watched back. Here's Lisa watching us, which is going to set us up for what comes in a second, which is that Jeffries is going to get noticed by Thorwald, which is going to set up the end of the movie. So, in fact, this shot allows us to see viewers on the left side who can't enter into the apartment, don't know what's going on, but they're sitting there. They're like Jeffries is, or like we are most of the movie, unable to see the action. So what's interesting about movies, of course, is that there's only two things going on in movies all the time. Things you can see and hear, and things you can't see and can't hear. So what's in the frame and what's not in the frame, what you can hear in the frame and what's out of the frame. So a director has choices. Do you show something to people or do you not show something? And oftentimes omissions are better, to leave things to the imagination. Or omissions create tension, as they do in this movie. So you don't know if Thorwald really did it because you don't have hard evidence, but you think he did it. Well, that's Jeffries. So everything is omitted, although there's a shot earlier in the movie where it almost seems like Thorwald couldn't have done it because we see him walk away out of the apartment with another woman. That would imply that it's his wife. However, Jeffries doesn't see that. So what's omitted and what's shown is different between us and Jeffries in this movie. Anyway, Hitchcock is playing entirely with what we see and what we can't see, and then our suspicions, and then also what we want to get out of the movie. By the way, do you want to see a murder mystery where a husband has killed his wife? Do you want that? If you did, what would that mean for you? Now, that's Hitchcock's question in this movie. Jeffries wants it. Do you want it? Now, when I say you, I'll include myself. And the answer is yes, because then it'd be an interesting movie. But the answer should be no, because it would be immoral and hideous, and I don't want that kind of world. Okay, so if I want immorality in my art, does that mean I want immorality in real life? Okay, these are a bunch of questions that Hitchcock is asking all at once. It's great. Lisa will be clever here and get arrested. This shot, okay, so we're a little higher up on them, and Stella's moving around him. I can't believe I never saw that pieta thing. It's actually in the movie. I couldn't believe this is great. You can only see more in watching something 80 times versus the 79th time. But now we got binoculars and a telephoto lens looking at this, cutting back and forth wonderfully. As Thorwald tries to get away, and here Lisa, first extreme close shot, more or less, of the movie, or clip at this point, the clip we're watching of the ring. That's the Lars Thorwald's wife's ring, and it's on her now. Now she's married, right? That's a metaphor. She's finally married. The first time she's married. The whole movie, Jeffries wants to marry her, or excuse me, doesn't want to marry her, and she wants to be married. I'm going to skip the ads. The ads are going to run. I don't want them to run. So you can go subscribe somewhere to my Substack. That's great because Jeffries does not want to be married, and she probably does. And we see a newlywed couple in the movie, and a couple, and Miss Torso, who's married and wants her husband back and doesn't get him back until the end, and Miss Lonely Hearts, who wants a companion, etc. Here she lives vicariously as in a way as being Thorwald's wife right here. So she's pointing to this, and it's the object of desire, maybe get married. But there's the love and the murder connected by that shot that goes up, pans up to Thorwald's face, and this is great. This is the murderer getting to look at the audience. Is it right at the audience? It is. Fourth wall break. So we again are Jeffries and Stella in the apartment, and Thorwald is coming after us. This is great when a voyeur gets noticed. If you're ever staring at people in a mall or some kind of like an airport, public transportation place, and you're people watching and you get seen, it's a moment maybe of guilt or shame or embarrassment or all the above. And you like, this is what I do at least, I avert my eyes. I love to people watch, but I don't want to be seen. So if I do that in a public place and people notice me, I'm going to look away from them because I'm ashamed of being seen. But the internet and reality TV let me be a voyeur, and no one's ever going to see me back. It's great if you're a voyeur or quote-unquote peeping Tom. But the fourth wall break is a way of getting you, the viewer, to notice that you are being watched and studied and asked questions of by Hitchcock. So there it is, right there. The Thorwald gets to look at you. Oh, do we know he's the killer? You may have an inkling. We don't. I guess we probably do at this point. The question in this movie is, when do you know? It's probably the wedding ring, but even that's not hard evidence. Like, I don't think in a court of law that would hold up. I'm not sure. This may be a moment when we know he's guilty. And then they're going to turn off the lights. So this is the one moment he's going to scramble. The camera gets real quick, and then the lights go out, and it gets all dark in the apartment. This is the end of the clip. I feel like I missed about 85,000 things. In fact, I have them all written down right there. My entire diagnosis of the movie, my answers to my own exam, but there are 100,000 things. Oh, I know what I wanted to repeat. The love song. Okay, in the beginning of this clip, it's cacophony. The musicians are playing different things. When it goes to Miss Lonely Hearts at the bottom and Lisa at the top, the love song starts playing as a summons, as I said. But then at the point where Thorwald kind of notices Lisa, the love theme stops. And that love theme becomes a cacophony again once you start to go into the murder case. So that love theme is playing at just the right time to talk about Jeffrey's desire or undesire for love. When it is cacophony, it's more about figuring out the murder mystery. So if you listen to the sound back again, which I missed the last third of this clip, it does that cacophony thing, and it's just wonderful. This is a restart of the clip, by the way. This is the beginning of it again. But I won't be able to listen to it because I'm not going to play it all the way through, but that cacophony at the beginning of this is at the end too. And so I don't know what to say exactly about that, except the desire for murder is more piecemeal and more disharmonious, and the desire for love is more harmonious. At least the score is saying that to us. All right. So, oops, I repeated it. Oh, pause. Oh, my hotkeys not working. Well, that's enough for today. That's my very quick and dirty analysis. Any student watches this will get a few answers, but these aren't the only answers to the exam. I hope you had fun.